In 2001, a group of Danish researchers published a study on 13 elderly men. The men were put through a resistance training program for 12 weeks, split into two groups. One group drank a protein supplement immediately after each workout. The other group waited 2 hours. The first group gained significantly more muscle mass. The study made its way into gyms, supplement stores, and bodybuilding forums almost immediately, and by the time it reached you, it had been translated. The translation went like this. You have a 30-minute window after your workout. Consume protein now or lose your gains. The window closes. I'm Dr. Stack. This is BrainStack Labs. What I'm going to show you is how a legitimate study became the scientific alibi for one of the most expensive habits in fitness history, and why the actual science says the window was never 30 minutes. The global sports nutrition market is worth over $40 billion. Post-workout protein products, shakes, powders, ready-to-drink bottles, bars, represent one of the largest and fastest-growing segments of that market. And the engine running all of it is urgency. Consume immediately. Don't wait. The window closes. The window doesn't close in 30 minutes. The actual post-exercise anabolic window, the period during which your muscles are most primed to use protein, lasts somewhere between 4 and 6 hours. If you ate protein before you trained, you may already be past the point where timing matters at all. What happened here was a misread. A real study applied to the wrong population, stripped of context, and handed to a market that needed urgency to sell product. This is how it happened and what it cost you. Picture this. It's 2001, Copenhagen, a physiology lab at the University of Copenhagen. 13 men are going through a supervised resistance training protocol. These are the subjects in a paper by Esmarck and colleagues, published that year in the Journal of Physiology. The design is clean. 2 groups, same training, same supplement. One group drinks it immediately after training. The other waits 2 hours. After 12 weeks, the immediate group shows greater muscle hypertrophy. The study is real. The data is real. The problem is who these men were. They were elderly, in their 70s. And that detail is not a footnote. It is the entire point. Aging muscle tissue has a meaningfully different anabolic response to exercise than younger muscle. The protein synthesis window in older adults is genuinely shorter and more acute. The sensitivity of aged muscle to protein availability right after training is a real biological phenomenon. The Esmarck study wasn't about you. It was a study with real clinical applications. For elderly populations, for rehabilitation medicine, for understanding how aging bodies respond to resistance training. Valuable research, published in a legitimate journal. What it was not designed to do was tell a 28-year-old who eats regular meals that they need to slam a shake before they even get to the locker room. That extrapolation came later, and it came from people selling protein. By the mid-2000s, post-workout protein was the single fastest-growing product category in the sports nutrition industry. Companies like EAS, Myoplex, and MetRx built entire product lines around the same premise. Your muscles have a window. The window's closing. Buy the product that fits inside it. The messaging was consistent. The science behind the messaging was not. Think about your own routine for a second. Have you ever driven home from the gym with your bag between your legs because you knew if you stopped to pick up food, you'd miss the window? Have you ever felt genuinely guilty because it had been 40 minutes? That guilt was manufactured by people who sell shakes. Here's what was actually happening in your muscles during that drive home. Muscle protein synthesis, the process of building tissue, was elevated. It would stay elevated for hours. Research consistently shows that post-exercise protein synthesis remains above baseline for up to 24 hours after resistance training. The acute peak, the moment of highest sensitivity, is somewhere around 2 to 4 hours post-workout, not 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not a biological milestone. It is a marketing deadline. And the reason nobody questioned it is that the ritual felt like discipline. It felt like science. It felt like you were doing the things serious athletes do. The feeling was the product. The powder was secondary. In 2013, Aragon and Brad Schoenfeld published a review in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition titled Nutrient Timing Revisited. Is there a post-exercise anabolic window? Their conclusion was direct. The narrow post-exercise window, the 30-minute rule specifically, was not well supported by evidence in healthy, adequately nourished individuals. Let that land. Two of the most cited researchers in evidence-based exercise science, in the field's most prominent journal, said the window, as marketed, wasn't real. A meta-analysis examining 23 studies on protein timing and muscle hypertrophy found something else important. Once total daily protein intake was controlled for, once everyone in the study was eating enough protein overall, the timing effect largely disappeared. Think of it like a car with a full tank. You can obsess about which petrol station you stop at and at what exact mile. Or you can just make sure the tank is full. The tank is what matters. The stop at mile 30 is irrelevant if you filled up at mile 20. Your muscles work the same way. If you ate a protein-containing meal 1 to 2 hours before training, your amino acid levels are still elevated when you finish. Your muscles are not waiting for an emergency delivery. They are already working with what you gave them. The urgency was never in the biology. It was in the sales deck. So what does the research say works? The answer is unsatisfying, which is exactly why it doesn't sell product. Total daily protein intake hit somewhere between 1.6 and 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. Distributed across meals, train consistently, sleep adequately. That is the formula, with 30 years of evidence behind it. You don't need a shake in the locker room. You don't need a shaker bottle in your car. You don't need a $40 post-workout blend with proprietary recovery complexes and 20-minute uptake technology. If you trained at noon and you had a chicken breast and rice at 10, you're fine. The window is measured in hours, not minutes. Go back to those 13 men in Copenhagen for a moment. Esmarck and colleagues weren't wrong. Their finding was real and clinically meaningful. For elderly individuals with reduced anabolic sensitivity, immediate protein timing does appear to matter more. That research has genuine applications for aging populations and rehabilitation medicine. The science was fine. What happened next was not science. It was distribution. A finding about elderly men's post-exercise muscle response traveled from a Physiology journal to a supplement company's marketing department. Context was removed. Population specificity was dropped, and the conclusion, consume protein immediately after training, was applied to every person who had ever picked up a barbell. Not because the evidence supported that, because the product needed the clock, not a conspiracy. Just money doing what money does. The ritual became part of gym culture. Shake in the locker room. 30 minutes. Serious athletes do this. That feeling has a market value. The science behind it does not. Here is what 3 decades of protein timing research actually supports. Total daily protein intake is the lever that moves muscle. Hit 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Spread it across the day. The post-exercise anabolic window is real. But it is 4 to 6 hours wide, not 30 minutes. If you ate before you trained, it is effectively already handled. The Esmarck study, the Aragon and Schoenfeld review, the protein timing meta-analyses, all in the description. Read the actual papers. Every week I take one thing the fitness industry turned into a ritual, something with a timer, a product, and a price attached to it, and I run the actual science on it. If that's useful to you, subscribe. You will not miss one. And if you have been rushing to slam a shake in the locker room for the last 5 years, tell me in the comments, how many times did you leave the gym early to hit the window? I'm Dr. Stack. See you in the next one.